Welcome back. Today in our Sunday Spotlight, the Hartford Whalers. A new book about the team that was loved by and then left Hartford was released on Friday. This morning, we're talking to Pat Pickens, the author of The Whalers, the rise, fall, and enduring mystique of New England's second greatest NHL franchise. Again, the book has just been released, and joining us this morning is Pat Pickens. Pat, thank you for being with us this morning. And what led you to write a book about the Whalers?
I think that fascination that you were alluding to is just it. You know, I was the sports editor of the Fairfield Citizen. Give a shout out to the people down in Fairfield County. In 2008, I started, and one of the first games and events I covered was high school hockey. And I think what was the fascination, I went to high school hockey state playoff games, and I would see kids from all the schools wearing Whalers hats, jerseys, sweatshirts, T-shirts, merchandise. And I was fascinated. I would go to the mall. In Danbury, I would go to the mall. In Trumbull, I would go to the mall anywhere statewide, and I would see huge displays. See the one at Bradley Airport with the huge display of Whalers merchandise, and I was sort of fascinated by it. And I didn't understand it because the Whalers hadn't existed at that point in 15 years almost, or 10 years at that point. And the people that were wearing the sweatshirts, hats, and jerseys, they were kids, frankly, 5 and 6 years old when the team left. So I sort of stashed that away, and then I started covering hockey for other outlets, and there's this fascination with the Whalers, and I noticed there had not been storytelling on it. There had not been a book written. The only book that had been written was released in 1987, and the team left in 1997, of course. And so I sort of dug into it and found just what everyone has realized is that there is an incredible story there, and I'm just so grateful to be able to tell it with everybody.
Now, I'm a little bit older than you are. I remember going to Whalers games at the Civic Center. I remember the day that they left, and I've owned merchandise that both while they were here and then retro stuff. What is it about that iconic, the H and the whale tail logo? What in your reporting did you uncover why it's so popular?
I think it's just the whole tale of the Whalers is one of uniqueness and kitsch is how I would phrase it in the book. That the logo was so far ahead of Peter Good was the creator of the logo. He had the H in the negative space and the green and blue was his color scheme, and it was so unique to the NHL at that time, to the point that Jack Kelly, who was running the organization, hated it. He and all the hockey people, they hated it. They thought it was too kitschy. And the Brass Bonanza, or the song known as Brass Bonanza, is it's kitschy. And Hartford, as any town USA, it's kitschy. You have the original 6 teams like the Bruins and Rangers and Detroit Red Wings. They have their tradition, and the Oilers and the New York Islanders of those days, they were known for winning. And the Whalers were just sort of this team, this major league team in Hartford, Connecticut. And they, Brass Bonanza played when they scored goals and when they took the ice, and they were wearing green sweaters. All the road fans would see them in the green jerseys. And I think those things were great, but they were way ahead of their time. And I think in this, in the age of nostalgia, in the age of Mitchell and Ness and some of the retro brands in terms of merchandising, people have latched onto that and they said, wow, this is really cool. This is really special. And they hear Brass Bonanza and they say, this is a cool song. And I think that's sort of where the Whalers live at this point, is sort of at this nostalgic place where I think the people in Connecticut just want that story to continue to be told. And I'm just, again, grateful to be able to tell it.
I don't want to name any names, but I know people have had the Brass Bonanza played at their wedding in Connecticut, so it certainly is a thing. Pat, you mentioned you started thinking about this way back in 2008, so here we are in 2021. The book has just been released. I know you said you did dozens of interviews to get here to put this book together. You talked to a lot of the players, some of the owners. You talked to Howard Baldwin. You talked to Peter Kamarnos, who so many people blame for taking that franchise. What do you think, Pete, you want people in Connecticut, if you had to give them a synopsis of what they'll find out from this book, what is it?
I think it's just, I wanted it to be the definitive history of the Hartford Whalers, and I'm really grateful that it became that. My first interview was in November 2nd of 2011, so it's been it's almost 10 years from start to finish. And I think what people will learn is they'll learn why the team left, why the team is so popular, why the team, or how the narrative arc there was an incredible narrative arc of this team, from the WHA to the roof collapse that put them in the NHL. People remember the roof collapse. That actually led to them the Civic Center grew bigger and they were had an NHL building. Some of the down years early on, the big years in the mid 80s where you mentioned some of the players and some of the great players. They just love to tell those stories of their time in Hartford or living in Simsbury, living in Farmington or the suburbs and what have you. So, and team gatherings, how close knit those teams are. And they make up some of the biggest alumni and faces of hockey, frankly, at this point. Ron Francis, Joel Quenneville, Kevin Dineen, Ray Ferraro. And I think Peter Kramanos wears the black hat. He's proud to wear the black hat. He doesn't care about what the people in Connecticut feel. But there's definitely something more there in terms of the Richard Gordon era and obviously the trade of Ron Francis and some of the economic downturn, and then the economic of hockey, how it evolved and how Hartford sort of got left behind in that regard, and then sort of explored the prospects potentially of a team in Hartford in the future. I don't know if you're getting to this, but I would say it's unlikely. But they're trying. I'd say.
That's what I was going to ask you. We have about 20 seconds left. So you're saying they're trying. Do you think there's any chance of these people who want to see the Whale come back to Hartford? Do you think it'll ever happen? 20 seconds. What do you think?
I'll never say never. I'd say it's unlikely. There's a lot of push for the XL Center expansion and trying to make it a better, newer building. But I would never say never, but I'd say it's probably unlikely.
All right, Pat Pickens, we appreciate you being with us. The book is The Whalers, The Rise, Fall, and Enduring Mystique of New England's second greatest NHL franchise. It is available now at your favorite bookseller. Pat, thank you so much for being with us here on CT21. That is CT21 for this week. CBS Sunday Morning with Jane Pauley is up next. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll meet you back here in Studio A next Sunday morning.
Thanks for watching Channel 3 Eyewitness News. Watch us live wherever you are on our mobile, on our streaming news app. And you can also watch us on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV.